Everybody, welcome to Storm Talk. Wave 3 News meteorologist Brian Good here. In case you haven't seen my post, I'm wearing the purple tie brought to you by the Center for Women and Families. They sent me this tie, and today Don G, Kevin Harted, and myself are taking part in trying to raise some money here. Their goal is $100,000. It's about a week-long campaign, and different companies are doing this, and today it's Wave 3's turn. So if you get a chance, check out my Facebook page and click on the link and see how you can help out because domestic violence especially is an important issue and we need to address that. Alright, now on a more lighter note on weather here, we are tracking a cold front that is coming our way. Between now and then, nice and quiet. You can see how the thunderstorm zone becomes a little more expansive as we head into Wednesday, and then as we get into Thursday we get into the marginal risk that shows up there across portions of Illinois into Missouri. If we were to extend this out another day, they have not drawn out an outlook for Friday. I would suspect it's going to be something more along these lines, and that zone has a better chance to see something marginal that could take place when it comes to maybe some gusty thunderstorms. That's really about it. This is not a very intense front by any stretch, but it is our next rainmaker coming our way. All right, temperature-wise, 66. We dipped to 61 this morning. Now, here's the issue today is going to be these high clouds moving in. Now, so far, we've seen a little bit of a break across a good chunk of wave country that has allowed us to have some fast warming, basically, is what I'm talking about here. So we've been steadily climbing. Now, this cloud deck over portions of Evansville, I mean, these are very high clouds, all right? These are more ice crystals than anything. These are where you get your sun dogs that show up a lot that you guys love to take pictures of. And they create beautiful sunrises like we saw this morning, and they will create another beautiful sunset later on for today. So have your cameras ready, in other words. But this little batch of clouds may slow the climb a little bit in the temperature, and the question then is going to become, will we see that continue all the way out to our west? And the way this is looking, another thin patch is developing here west of this next batch of somewhat thicker clouds in West Kentucky. So I am tempted to raise our high again back to where we were yesterday. We hit 83 yesterday. Today, the data indicated, again, until we really get the sun to come up and get a good handle on the cloud cover, it's hard to determine how thick it will be. And you got to kind of nowcast these things. And I took our high down to 81, but by looking at the visible satellite, I am tempted to go back up to 83 for a high. So I'll make that decision on the midday show coming up, but we'll see how it plays out. The actual cold front is way up here to the northwest. The energy just now moving into Vancouver and to Canada, and we will see the system kind of dive down, and that'll be the main driver for the front for later this week. Let me show you how it looks on Futurecast. For later today, the model's got us about 81, and again, it's highly dependent on the Cirrus deck that moves through. Tonight, pretty similar, around 60 tomorrow. Again, passing clouds around, same issue tomorrow. You know, how thick would they be, and it's all about the coverage of them. Determines whether we're 78 or we 83 again. So kind of a cat and mouse game when it comes to the forecast highs the next couple of days. All right, here's where changes start, though. Thursday, I think we have a chance to get to about 80 to 84. They're going to be a warmer day because we get a south flow. Today we've got a north flow. Once we get into Thursday, we're going to get more of a south wind as a warm front moves through. And I think it'll be, even with the increasing cloud cover, I think we'll be able to cross 80 degrees. But then here comes the front. And this is just one model's interpretation. It brings in the batch of lightning and thunder. These will likely be thunderstorms on the stronger side in that marginal risk zone I was showing you back in Illinois. They will likely weaken as they approach Louisville at this time, 3 o'clock in the morning on Friday. And then I kind of lose the image there, sorry about that, but they kind of line themselves up along the Ohio River right at about, say, 6 a.m. And it looks to be a pretty narrow band. So, are we talking about severe weather with this front? Well, I mean, it's only Tuesday, so it's hard to look at parameters this far out, but the discussion's out there, so let's see what we're looking at. Most of the wind energy is going to be associated with the main low itself that is moving into Vancouver, and again, it's diving through the Great Lakes. All we're getting is the front. So again, if there's anything on risk-wise that'd be issued, it'd be closer to that wind field. So there's some wind, but it is not off the chart. I mean, these are pretty sad winds overall. This is nothing crazy. When it comes to instability, there is some, and it is higher during the day on Thursday. It weakens over us, and it does increase again in southeast Kentucky and Tennessee Friday afternoon. So once again, timing's in our favor here, if the timing holds anyway. Because the European model and the Canadian try to slow this front down and arrive at, or have the main band itself arriving Friday afternoon, which would increase our ability to have a little more instability. But Right now, the timing looks to be late night, early morning, which would not be very favorable. But there's enough negative lifted index taking place across the Ohio River that some lightning and thunder and a few areas of gusty winds are certainly possible. Can't rule it out, especially on the thunder side of things. And it's a narrow belt of moisture. This is not a heavy rain event at all. It's a quick shot and boom, it's over. All right, so that's that. The weekend looks good for this weekend for Ironman, which is good. They are testing the blue algae level, by the way, today. We got the results yesterday of the October 1st test, and that took 4 days to get. So they're doing the test today, so we're not going to know the results on that until the very last minute of the race coming up for the weekend here. So hopefully the last test showed improvement. Let's hope the improvement continues, because when you got a stretch of warm weather, it can actually create a higher level of blue algae. So fingers crossed for you guys that are competing. All right, so once we get past the weekend, yesterday we were looking at the 15th and the 20-something through Halloween as potential for a couple of troughs that could come in, and the question is, what angle will they drop and how long will they last? And today we are seeing, here's a deterministic models, and again, these always change every model run, they change, and that will get worse as the year goes on. This is GFS, and here is the European. The Canadian doesn't have an outlook for that far out yet. But looking at the GFS, I mean, it aims the general cool pocket of air on the 15th, the northeast, and the Euro is pretty similar. It shows one shot and then a double shot coming in right in behind it. The ensembles actually match pretty good for the European and the GFS, and the Canadian not too far off. So pretty good agreement that this is going to be more of an eastern-based trough as far as being Great Lakes northeast. Nothing significant for us, just a cool down. This is what it looks like. All right, so then beyond that, I'm going to erase the deterministic models. Those are going to be gone. I took those out because there's no sense in looking at them. So let's look at ensembles only for the last time period here. It's about the 21st or so of October. And you do see a trough here. You do see a little more ridging in here. And when you look at the 500, this is the 850 that I'm showing you. But when you look at the 500, there is signs the subtropical jet may be a little more active on the European model during this period, which would not mean cool weather. It would actually mean warm and humid and perhaps pretty active weather, especially in the tropics. We'll see how that plays out. And then the Canadian is actually pretty close to the GFS and the cool side of things. So we don't have a lot of data to support right now through at least after the 20th or so of October of anything significant cool-wise. And the deterministic model yesterday in the GFS looked the most impressive, dropping that blast of cold air with a hurricane over Florida. And it's not even there today. I mean, it still has the tropical system, but the blast of cold air, I mean, nowhere even close to where it was yesterday. So that's why you got to be careful with these models here, and that's why I always say they're more for entertainment. Deterministic models are far out. The ensembles is the way to go, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to keep an eye on the ensembles and trend them, and as soon as we start seeing some significant changes coming our way, we will let you know. But right now, I really see everything being fairly seasonable as we head through at least the 21st of October. But October is always full of surprises, especially the last week. So let's hang tight and see what happens. I'll see you guys on midday.